Okay, this week we're talking about vertebrate management. As with everything, you want to properly identify the pest. You look for signs. Most vertebrates are going to be nocturnal, so you may need to be out there at night with your flashlight. You want to determine if management is really necessary. You're looking at benefits of control versus the cost of management. And is the species legally protected? Management and non-target species should be considered because sometimes you're getting the beneficial or desired species when you're managing these pests. Okay, here we have Townsend vole and Townsend mole. So moles are actually good for the soil. They feed on earthworms, soil insects, and grubs while they're tunneling. They do feed on some slugs. They occasionally will eat bulbs. Their big damage is going to happen in lawns and landscapes where they push up molehills. This happens when they're excavating. In soft soils they form ridges rather than hills. The voles are the ones that are the pests in the garden. They feed on vegetables and ornamental plants both above and below ground, and they cut runways through the grass, feeding on vegetation as they move. So on the left here we've got the vole damage, and then on the right, of course, we've got our molehills that we're all very familiar with. So, is management really necessary? WSU considers this to be the #1 pest in yards. When I worked at Seattle Tilth on the Garden Hotline, I would say it certainly was in the top 10. What I would always say to people is the first thing is your soil is healthy. So if that doesn't win them over, then we go through these steps. You can rake the mounds, you can stomp on them, and then when they push back up, you can kill humanely, whatever that means. You can flush the runs, which will actually kill the babies, and when you tell people that they're going to be killing babies, they're really upset and they think twice about getting rid of moles. Scissor traps are illegal, live trapping is illegal, baits are inconsistent, and smoke bombs sometimes work in heavy soils. So what you can try is a vertical barrier of aluminum sheeting or mesh of galvanized hardware cloth, 18 to 24 inches deep. That might help you. One thing that was done several years ago, and it's still out there unfortunately, is the mole plant. It's in the euphorbiaceae, known as a mole plant or gopher spurge. They thought it repelled moles. It doesn't. It's a poisonous plant, and it's actually on the Noxious Weed Board's monitor list because so many people tried it. It does not work. Okay, when you're dealing with voles, you want to think about trapping them as you would with mice. So you're using common mouse traps. You bait it with apple pieces or peanut butter. You don't bait it. You place them at right angles to their runways and tunnels to manage small populations. You want to cover the traps to prevent harming birds, and you need at least one trap per 100 square feet. For large backyards and gardens, it may take up to 80 or more traps per acre. I would say that many cats are going to take care of this. Hopefully you're not letting your cat outside because that's a problem, but there's probably a cat out there in your neighborhood that can help manage this. Okay, so you can use the hardware cloth also around the gardens or individual plants. It should be 12 inches high, and the bottom should be buried at least 6 to 10 inches in the ground. And then when you use a light mulch around the barrier, it helps increase effectiveness. Okay, here are European starlings, some of the most obnoxious birds out there. So they're larger than a sparrow, but smaller than a crow. They nest in cavities. They might destroy eggs and kill nestlings of native birds to use their nesting sites. They eat berries, insects, and other invertebrates, fruits, nuts, grains, seeds, and garbage. And then they brought 100 birds to Central Park because some group they were mentioned in a Shakespearean play, and now after that was 1890 to 1892, there were 200 million European starlings in North America. It took, by 1940, they were on the West Coast after being released in Central Park. It is exempt for the Migratory Treaty Act, Their nests, eggs, young, and or adults may be removed or destroyed at any time. You don't need a permit for this. So you can try using Mylar scare tape. You attach it to stakes and stretch it out 18 inches above desired plants. The thing to know about birds and Mylar tape, they are neophobic. This will work for a short while, but they get used to it. So then you have to come up with something else. So this isn't a long-term solution. For strawberries, place between rows 3 to 5 inches above the ground. Balloons can be placed at 3 feet above the shrubs. Of course, you're going to want to probably use netting. That's probably the most effective way to keep them off your plants. Okay, pigeons. Of course, they hang out on rooftops under eaves. So the undersides of rafters can be covered with bird netting to prevent pigeons from gaining access to roosting spots. You can also use some of this wire here. And I used to maintain plants in the First Hill Plaza years ago, and they had a batch of pigeons come in, and then they had babies. It's the nastiest thing ever. You do not want these guys in your garden. Okay, don't trap pigeons and release them elsewhere because they'll easily return or cause problems somewhere else. If you can't, you mainly kill them yourself. Use a falconer or a wildlife rehabilitation center that will accept live pigeons to feed hawks.